Hi everyone, Dr.C here, and continuing on with the essay question series for your dissertation, which each student must complete to graduate. And now considering question number 2, essay number 2, I'll read it. What is the Costanza Principle? What character is this principle based on? What can we expect when the Costanza Principle is applied in our own lives? Clearly define convention, provide at least 3 practical examples of the Costanza Principle in action. Well, this is one of my favorites because there's a lot of humor built into this, but it ties in with reality. And the Costanza Principle is based on a clip, a sequence from the hit comedy Seinfeld, episode 83, I believe, season 5, 1994, and I recommend that you get to YouTube and find this video. The actual video is called The Opposite, and it begins with what I consider to be an essential behavior pattern, which is introspection and contemplation and self-examination. So George is out on a wharf. He's thinking about his life. He realizes that all the decisions that he has made to that point have led to his current state of unhappiness and unfulfillment. So in the next scene, he's in the cafe where they normally meet, him and Jerry and Elaine, and they're having this discussion, and he's kind of talking about how his instincts have led him astray. So Jerry makes a comment regarding the nature of the Costanza Principle, which is if every instinct that he's had and the consequent mindset and behavior that's led to his current state has been wrong, then the opposite must be true. Now, this is based on Aristotelian logic. If what you're doing leads to one outcome, then the opposite should lead to another, and essentially, all things considered, the outcome should be the opposite. So that's how I came up with this idea, the Costanza Principle. The Costanza Principle relates to doing the opposite of convention. Now, what's convention? Convention is the groupthink. It's what everyone around you is doing. It's what the masses consider to be normal. It's what bureaucrats tell us to do and how to think, and it's what the government generally advocates when it comes to almost everything. That's convention. Okay, so what I do in my life is I do the opposite of convention when it comes to what the group think, what is generally considered to be right. I do the opposite when it comes to anything relative to health and fitness and nutrition, especially nutrition. What I do is I base this on identifying the outcome of human life in our society, the state of health that many people are experiencing, or the lack of it, or in essence, the state of health that they're experiencing is bad as opposed to good in terms of that continuum. So if a large majority of people are eating a certain way, refined food, sterile food, dead food, and that is causing their demise, a decay in the species, a flood of disease, changes in neurobiochemistry, obesity, diabetes, cancer, heart disease. This is all connected to how people eat, and that is connected to how people think. And so the attitude here is really what I'm after. It's a mindset. What I do in my own life is I look at the outcome that people are generating, statistics and mathematics to verify this, and then come up with conclusions as a good scientist to understand that if a certain behavior leads to a predictable outcome, then by changing the behavior, by changing, in this case, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, epigenetics, by changing this, we can then predict that we'll have a different outcome. And then along the way, before we get to the end or the outcome, we can measure whether or not we're making any real gains. For example, if you start out unfit and get to the gym and start walking and start swimming and start running and start doing all the things that are required to get fit, you can actually measure the changes along the way. And you can do this with nutrition as well. You can actually measure biochemically in your blood with liver panels. You can look at yourself in the mirror. You can see the changes that are occurring as a result of doing what's right. So the Costanza Principle, I think, is an essential principle, even though it's funny, and there are excellent examples of this in life. For example, if the status quo or convention recommends that we eat a lot of bread, bagels, muffins, pasta, wheat, grains, if the primary component of our diet is acidic bread and wheat and related components and related foods, then I recommend doing the opposite. So the opposite would be to consume living foods. Fruits and vegetables, for example, is a great start, and make those a primary major construct of your diet. So turn the USDA food pyramid on its head, turn it upside down, make some changes that relate to the opposite of what convention is doing. Now, there's all kinds of examples of this in life where people are doing one thing, and then by analyzing what they're doing and associating what they're doing with the outcome, you then intellectualize that the opposite will give you the opposite outcome, which in many cases will give you better health, better life, less depression, better sleep habits, better function. The goal is to create a lean, functional body and then manage and maintain yourself throughout your life so that you never lose that lean, functional body. You keep it, you keep yourself together, mind and body, all the way through to the end. So you have to come up with 3 examples in your own life that reveal the Costanza Principle in action. So have some fun with this and utilize this principle. I recommend doing so as a principle of life's action. Take a step back, look at what the masses are doing, watch the lemmings go off the cliff, and then say to yourself, how should I behave differently? And if one action leads to a negative consequence, then perhaps if I do the opposite of what I'm being told, if I do the opposite of what I'm being pressured to think and believe, then by becoming an individual and relying on my own search, my own quest for truth, my own capacity to judge, then I will have a better outcome and I will measure the results along the way to see whether or not my theory is accurate. Okay, so have some fun with this, and I'll see you in the next video for essay number 3. This is Dr. C on Chi TV. There is no life without Chi.